I'm merely standing on the shoulders of giants, though in this case, the shoulders were rather unformed. A student's raw talent is clay, but it takes a master's hand to shape it into art. The spotlight was a clean, punishing white, catching the silver rims of Professor Valerius's glasses and turning them into blinding discs. He was accepting the Regional Innovator of the Year award, and the entire university faculty was watching. A woman next to me, a tenured professor I vaguely knew, sighed dreamily. "He's so brilliant," she whispered. I didn't look at her. I kept my eyes on the stage, a faint smile on my face. "He shaped it all right," I murmured. "He just forgot to give credit for the clay. I met Julian Valerius in my first graduate seminar." Was a titan in the field of computational linguistics, the kind of academic whose name appeared in the footnotes of every important paper published in the last 20 years. "He saw something in my initial proposal," he said. A spark. He took me on as his doctoral advisee. I remember one night, long after the campus had emptied, the two of us stood before a massive whiteboard in his office, mapping out a recursive algorithm. The air smelled of stale coffee and expo markers. When we finally solved the logic puzzle, he didn't cheer. He just stepped back, nodded, and said, "There, that's the engine." I felt like I was part of something monumental. The first red flag was so small I barely registered it. He'd borrowed a specific turn of phrase from another student's presentation for a grant application. When I pointed it out, he waved a dismissive hand. "It's called academic synthesis, kid. We all build on each other's work." I chose to believe him. It seemed safer that way. The next 18 months were a blur of creation. I practically lived in the linguistics lab, fueled by takeout from Soul Kitchen and a burning desire to impress him. My project, which I'd codenamed Echo, was a sentiment analysis model that didn't just read words. It interpreted intent, sarcasm, and emotional subtext with uncanny accuracy. I was proud of it. Valerius was my champion. He secured extra server time, got me access to exclusive datasets. I gave him full admin privileges on my private GitHub repository. "See," he'd say, "this is what a true mentorship looks like. Partnership." The cracks started as hairline fractures. I began presenting my preliminary findings at departmental meetings as our lab's current focus, with his name always appearing first. He'd deframe it as a favor. "You're not ready for the academic sharks," he'd tell me. "Let me handle the politics. You just focus on the code." I rationalized it. He was protecting me, giving my work a platform it wouldn't otherwise have. He presented a major component of my work at a conference in Zurich, a conference he told me was too senior for me to attend. The imbalance grew slowly. I was giving everything, and he was taking the credit. The discovery came not with a bang, but with an automated email. I subscribed to a service that scans new PAT filings for keywords related to my research. One Tuesday morning, a notification popped up. "PAT application US 202302811A1. Title: Acoustic Resonance Linguistic Modulator. Filed by V-Analytics, Inc. The abstract was a verbatim copy of the third chapter of my unpublished thesis. V-Analytics was Valerius's private consulting firm, a little side hustle I knew he had. The world tilted on its axis. That's when the work began. For 7 weeks, I became a quiet, methodical investigator. I didn't sleep. I cross-referenced dates, times, and file versions. I hired a digital forensics expert, a sharp, cynical man named Zane who specialized in academic fraud. It cost me nearly $8,000 from my savings, but it was worth every penny. Zane found it buried in the university server logs. On March 14th, at 11:58 p.m., a full download of my entire project directory, all 1.7 gigabytes of it, was initiated from Valerius's IP address. I remembered that night. It was the night I'd excitedly emailed him that I'd finally cracked the neural weighting problem, the very core of Echo's unique ability. He'd stolen my breakthrough the moment I'd had it. The breaking point was the Innovator of the Year gala. Were witnesses: Dean Radford, Dr. May from the Ethics Committee, a dozen of my peers. My name wasn't in the program. My contributions weren't mentioned in the introduction. There was only Valerius, bathed in light, holding a golden trophy. He delivered his cruel, paternalistic monologue about shaping a student's unformed talent, a public erasure so complete it felt like a physical blow. He painted me as a clueless apprentice and himself as the master artist. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel hurt. As the applause washed over the ballroom, a strange, cold clarity settled over me. The plan didn't form in words. It arrived fully formed, a perfect, logical sequence. And in that moment, I noticed a tiny detail. On stage, Valerius was using a sleek silver laser pointer to gesture toward his slideshow. I'd seen the Amazon box for that exact model on his desk the week before. He loved his gadgets. It was a small, meaningless fact that would soon become exquisitely meaningful. My first call was to a patent attorney, a woman named Ms. Sterling. She had a reputation for being a shark in a tailored suit. She reviewed my evidence and laid out the path. The retainer was $15,000. It was the last of my savings and a chunk of my student loans. She told me it would take months. We filed a formal challenge to the patent, a detailed complaint with the university's Research Integrity Office, and prepared a civil suit for intellectual property theft. Zane, the forensics expert, provided a certified, unassailable report of the server logs. One afternoon, Valerius saw me having coffee with Sterling near the law school. My heart hammered against my ribs. He smiled his usual condescending smile and asked who she was. I told him she was a family friend helping me with a new apartment lease. He seemed to buy it, patting my shoulder and telling me not to get distracted from my lab work. It was the closest I came to being exposed. The evidence was a fortress. We had, 1. The timestamped server logs of the March 14th download. 2. My complete GitHub commit history, showing 18 months of my solitary work. 353 emails where I explained the core architecture of Echo to him. 4. The patent application, containing my exact phrasing and code samples. 5. A sworn affidavit from Yasmin, a lab tech who had overheard me explain the neural weighting system to a dismissive Valerius weeks before his supposed breakthrough. 6. The ironic coincidence that sealed it, a university newsletter, dated March 15th, where Valerius bragged about his sudden revolutionary insight. It was published less than 12 hours after he downloaded my finished work. Our decoy was simple. Sterling sent a vaguely worded cease and desist letter to V-Analytics, mentioning only a potential intellectual property overlap. It was designed to make him arrogant. He had his lawyers send back a 2-sentence dismissal. Thought I was a naive student with a hunch. He was walking directly into the trap. The final meeting was held in a sterile, glass-walled boardroom on the top floor of the administration building. Dean Radford was there, along with the head of the ethics committee and Valerius himself, looking irritated but confident. Professor Valerius, I began, my voice even, your ARLM project is truly remarkable work. He preened, leaning back in his leather chair. Thank you. It was the culmination of years of theoretical exploration, a sudden moment of synthesis. I nodded, then turned to the large monitor on the wall and projected my GitHub history. Calendar of green squares filled the screen, a visual diary of 2 years of late nights. The commits, the notes, the bug fixes, all under my username. His smile tightened. He started talking about collaboration, about how mentors guide and students execute. Then, for the second reveal, I displayed Zane's forensics report. On one side, the server log, March 14th, 11:58 p.m., download of Project Echo final zip from my directory. On the other, the metadata from his new silver laser pointer. I explained how I'd subpoenaed his Amazon purchase history. He had ordered it on March 15th with a gift note attached. It read, for myself, to celebrate the big one. He bought his celebratory gift, I said to the silent room, the morning after he stole my work. Valerius's face went slack, the color draining from it. He started stammering about shared ideas, about the fluid nature of research. Looked at me, his eyes wide with a desperate, pleading terror. Dean Radford looked like he was going to be sick. Valerius turned to me one last time. It was my guidance, my framework. I let the silence hang for a moment. It takes a master's hand to shape it into art. I believe that was your line. The fallout was swift and brutal. Within 24 hours, Valerius was suspended pending a termination hearing. The story leaked to Wired and several academic watchdog blogs. Ignored 47 calls and twice as many texts. The university, desperate to avoid a public lawsuit, settled. I received a formal apology, full and uncontested ownership of the patent for Echo, and a check for $125,000. Valerius was fired for gross academic misconduct. 6 months later, I saw his new profile on LinkedIn. The grand title of distinguished professor was gone, replaced by independent consultant. The photo was a blurry selfie taken in a dimly lit room that looked like a spare bedroom. His famous silver-rimmed glasses were gone. All that was left was a tired-looking man with empty eyes. I used the settlement to launch my own small firm. Yasmin, the lab tech, was my first hire. We work out of a bright, airy office with a view of the city. The work is hard, but it's honest. It's ours. The other day, a new client asked if I was worried about my ideas being stolen. I just smiled. Raw talent is clay, I told them. But now I'm the one who shapes it. The Echo is finally my own.